Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, October 24, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. We are here in Jacksonville, Florida, on the campus of Edward Waters University. We'll be talking about what is happening here with this HBCU, and also, of course, politics is still a topic of mind. 12 days until the election. Vice President Kamala Harris holding a massive rally in Atlanta as we speak with former President Barack Obama, Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, and others. So we'll be going live to that, and also talking about this election and its impact on HBCUs, what has happened in the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, and what's going to be happening moving forward. So lots to break down. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, we are live at Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida. Of course, we've been on the road the last few weeks here across the country. Elizabeth City State University last week, Lincoln University as well, Fayetteville State. So we've been traveling all around the country. So let's get this thing kicked off with the Edward Waters Band. Let's go! Folks, that was the triple threat marching band here at Edward Waters University. And so glad to kick things off that way. And so glad to be here on the campus. And so lots, of course, we want to talk about, but we can't, of course, avoid the reality of politics. 12 days until the presidential election, but also huge races all across the country. U.S. Senate races, congressional races, local races as well. Joining us right now is the new mayor of Jacksonville, Mayor Deegan. You've not been in office long, right?
About a year and a few months.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you real brand new. So
some days it feels like much longer.
I understand. So first and foremost, this used to be a battleground state. It's gone increasingly red. You got a new party chair, Nikki Fried. I've had her on the show numerous times. Are you seeing excitement in this state, in this city, with this presidential election? Give us a sense of the landscape.
Well, absolutely. I think you've seen the number, not only the number of contributions that have come out of this state, but also just the number of volunteers who have signed up to help work. And I think people are very, very excited. I can tell you Vice President Harris has been here a couple times before she received the nomination this past year. And literally, we couldn't find a room big enough to put her in. We had to find an overflow. I mean, people were very excited about her before she was ever the candidate. So I think there's a lot of excitement, especially here in Jacksonville.
But it takes a lot to rebuild a party. In the last few elections, it's been real rough for Democrats in this state, and you don't rebuild it in 1 year or two. And so what do you think it takes to make Florida, again, a competitive state nationally?
Well, look, I'm not one of those people that gives up hope on Florida. I think that we are a competitive state. I think there are a lot of people that say that Florida is not in play, and perhaps it is or isn't. But I'll say that I think it is more in play than it has been. I think especially here in Jacksonville, I think we are a purple city. And people here, when I was elected, really responded to a message of, and I'm a Democrat, responded to a message of let's stop the vitriol and the ugliness and change our politics. My entire campaign was based on unity. And I think what you've seen around the state of Florida, the Democrats who have won these individual House races have been Democrats who have run on that message of this chaotic, crazy, ugly politics that we are perpetrating on our people has to stop. We've got to find a way to work together and get things done. And there have been a lot of successes for Democrats in those races. So I'm not one of those people who's writing off the state. I do think we have some work to do. But I think that's the way forward. I think people are fatigued with the chaos and the ugliness. You
mentioned purple. My buddy Alvin Brown used to be mayor of the city
he
as
did.
well.
Alvin's a friend.
And just chat for a second again in terms of how do you see this way forward, because you're right, our politics, it is shifting, it is changing in terms of a lot of places that used to be hardcore red, changing, population shifts, people moving into various places, changing the demographics of the state.
Yeah, but I also think that you're also seeing, if you look at my race and some of the other races where Democrats have won across the state, it's been with a coalition. It's not just with Democrats, it's with Republicans who want something different. That is a party that has changed dramatically, as you know. And I think that you have a lot of Republicans who are fatigued with that. And certainly in terms of the independents, we built a coalition of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And I think that's what's going to happen if we're going to start shifting this state. I think independents are a big key. You've seen the biggest voter increase, registration increase in independents in our state. And that's largely young people who don't want to register with a party. Right. And they are hewing more toward the Democratic side, which will be helpful for us.
Speaking of that, talking about young folks, all across the country, college campuses play a crucial role in terms of turnout, especially HBCUs. Again, I was at Fayetteville State on Friday, Elizabeth City State University. We were at Lincoln. We see this on other campuses. There was a massive stroll to the polls at North Carolina Central, more than 1,000 students who voted on the first day of early voting. And so college campuses are playing a huge role, which also requires for politicians to have different conversations, because the reality is the people who vote the most are older voters, 65 plus, but you have to speak to that younger demo in a much different way than, frankly, folks have done in the last 20, 30 years.
Well, that's one of the things that I tried to do very strongly during my campaign, have continued in terms of building my administration, bringing younger people in to energize them and to, frankly, build the queue for what comes after me. And I think that we have seen a much more energized, younger base of Democrats here than we have seen in a while. So I'm hopeful, but I'm always hopeful.
When I travel around the country, one of the things I do when I visit HBCUs, I don't just look at the campus, I look at the surrounding of a campus.
Yeah.
And so as a mayor, what is your vision for development of the exterior of the campus here? Because universities serve as critical hubs, not only employment hubs, economic hubs. And so how is this city looking at development, whether it's housing, whether it's retail, around this university?
Well, we are working on a number of different initiatives, but one of the things that I was just actually talking to President Faison about is we've just received a Build America grant to plan around transit-oriented development around the Prime Osborne train station, which is not far from here. And that will require a lot.
How much is that grant?
How much is the grant? Well, the grant is just for personnel to make the plans, and that's about $1.5 million. But that's big because that'll help us.
And that's a result of the infrastructure bill that was passed?
We have received hundreds of millions of dollars from that infrastructure bill, which has been huge for our community. But this is one of the things. And so the plan eventually is to make sure that we create more student housing, that we create more entertainment, that we can create a scenario where we can get a train station back downtown. But all of that requires a lot of different planning. Ultimately, we have another university coming in to build a campus close by. University of Florida is building a part of a campus here. And so what we're hoping to build at some point is a connection between all these universities in a graduate hub sort of situation. That's really the goal.
How far is that going to be from here?
Oh, not far at all. It's all very close to here. But at the same time, we're working with neighborhoods close by the campus in terms of a lot more affordable housing and initiatives for infrastructure that's been neglected for many, many years. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that I ran on. You know, when we consolidated this city many, many years ago, we made a lot of promises to areas of town like this, and we didn't keep any of them. And so one of the things I said when I came into office is we're going to shift the way we do our capital improvement projects to where we bring up some of those communities that have been neglected. So we score them differently to try to make sure that the communities that we've left behind are now back at the top of the trough. And that's really what we focused on heavily in terms of things like affordable housing and roads and sidewalks and infrastructure.
So how do you ensure gentrification doesn't happen? Because when you talk about if University of Florida comes in, if you see this university expanding, we know how developers think, and then all of a sudden they come in, and then home prices go up, valuations go up, and then people are then priced out. And so in this area here, have you studied how many, in terms of the number of people are renting versus owning, to ensure that that doesn't happen? Because we've seen it in other places.
Well, I think the way that you do that is you bring the community into the conversation. And one of the things that we've done is we've met with a lot of community organizations. Elder Harris, who has a large church in this community, has some great plans in terms of building housing and other things that will be helpful. So I think what you do is you make sure that you bring the community in, and that's what we've done with everything we've done. In fact, we have a huge development called the Emerald Trail that's going to be coming close to here. And one of the things that we've done is made sure that we have worked with the folks that are doing that to bring in the community in every single link of that. It surrounds the entire city, but everybody has a part in deciding what needs to be developed and how is it going to be developed and how do we avoid gentrification in that process. That's part of everything that we're looking at right now.
All right. Well, Mayor Deegan, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
So great to see you. Thank you for being here.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to chat with our political panel. We got lots of other conversations we're talking about. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live at Edward Waters University here in Jacksonville, Florida. There you go. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
Her blanket.
First of all, I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion. So all they talk about abortion. You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared. You will no longer have anxiety. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
Disastrous, alarming, a plan that shreds American values. That's what independent news sources and conservatives are saying about a proposal from right-wing extremists called Project 2025. It would threaten hundreds of thousands of jobs created by the Clean Energy Plan, give massive tax breaks to big oil, and roll back protections that keep corporations from poisoning our water with toxic chemicals. Project 2025, a dream for them, a disaster for you.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Folks, this is a live look at the massive rally in Atlanta, Georgia, for Vice President Kamala Harris. That's Senator John Ossoff on stage. Earlier, Sam Jackson, Spike Lee spoke, and Tyler Perry will be speaking as well. President Barack Obama will be at this rally as well. Vice President Harris is recording an interview with Shannon Sharp with Club Shay Shay, which will air on Monday. And so we have a live stream of that actually happening as we speak. And so you can see that on the Black Star Network app or YouTube channel as well. We're back here at Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida. Let me introduce our next panel for a conversation. Tracy Davis, Florida State Senator, Dr. Rahman Johnson, Councilman here in Jacksonville, and Dr. Aaron Gilliam, Associate Provost for Academic Affairs for Student Success and Strategic Initiatives. Jesus, how long is your title? My God, it's a double-sided business card. All right, y'all pick the microphones up. Jesus, I'm just saying. This is Wheel of Fortune. We're going to use all the letters of the alphabet. All right, let's get into it. So y'all heard me ask the mayor in terms of about development outside, and the reason I think that's important because, unfortunately, again, this is probably, if you save 107 HBCUs, I believe this is the 6th year that I've been to, and so. I only wear gear places I go. So the other schools, the other 47, I don't wear their stuff unless I come to campus. And the thing so that's how I sort of look at. I want to look at apartment complexes. I want to look at restaurants. I want to look at businesses because the development on the outside also plays a part in university recruitment. And so, Councilman, I'll start with you. Talk about that because the mayor talked about, communities being left behind for so long. That is an important conversation that needs to be had when you talk about how do you grow HBCUs.
Well, Brother Roland, first of all, thank you for being here in Jacksonville. We appreciate it, even though you're a good alpha man. This good Kappa man is happy to have you on the campus. I just got to throw it out there.
We don't mind.
It's all love.
We don't mind these little youth groups.
It's all love. It's all love.
I mean, everybody couldn't get in.
There he go.
What? No, you started it.
I did.
See, and I didn't bring it up.
I could take it.
I didn't bring it up. But remember, when you walked up, you should have told me that because y'all should always kiss the ring.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Matter of fact, and I wore 2 alpha rings for you to kiss. You kiss the left hand or the right hand. See, you shouldn't have said nothing.
It's all love.
You shouldn't have said no. Now it's all love.
It is, but we all know Kappa's the best. But that's all right. That's all right.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you better go. Remember, without alpha, y'all Kappa side. You need our name. You better go on ahead and make your statement.
Here you go. Here you go.
Hey,
so let me tell you,
don't compete with nobody get paid to talk.
Oh, come on now, you know.
You better go and make your statement as councilman.
Let me tell you, and I'm gonna come back to that.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I promise you, my brother.
I guarantee you're not.
It's so much love.
I'm so locked and loaded. You better go and make that statement.
Alpha Kappa Nu 1902. But I'm gonna go ahead.
You better tell him. He better go.
I'm gonna go ahead. Let me tell you, as an alum of this institution, like the senator here, I think what is important, I represent, I heard the questions you asked the mayor. as a former professor here at this school as well, I represent a district on the council that is neither a Democratic district nor a black district. So having a district that has never had somebody that looks like me or believes like me to represent it means that if you bring the right stuff to the table, it works. Now, the reason I bring that up is because now being a swing vote on the Jacksonville City Council, we control the purse strings of how things happen in the city.
Right.
So we are now, at least as far as I'm concerned, at the table to put Edward Waters on the map. That's why I'm consistently talking to the administration here about programs. While this may not be in my district, at the end of the day, I'm still a black man on the Jacksonville City Council that has increased the opportunity for us to have these conversations. So it takes time. What we realized, we've only been in office 18 months now, not even 18 months, almost 18 months. It has taken time for us to get to the point to at least have the conversations. But before, the conversations weren't really happening. It was like, let's give them enough to appease them. We're at the space now where we're saying, one of the things, Brother Roland, that I will tell you, I was at the table negotiating the contract for the Jaguars deal. Right? That was we had a $300 million community benefits agreement plus another.
Man, don't even get me started on these stadiums.
Billion-dollar stadium. Well, let me tell you.
I can't stand these billionaire owners asking folk to build stadiums for them. I call that rich folk welfare.
Let me tell you, let me tell you why this is important. Number one, with this stadium, that stadium belongs to us, the people of Jacksonville. So we are literally leasing the stadium to the Jaguars. So for them to come in with the largest community benefits agreement, and we had even $150 million of deferred maintenance that we as the city had not done. So even though we're putting $700 million into it, the other $600 million plus overruns are being paid for by Shad Khan, besides the other investment they're doing in the downtown community. But what's even deeper and better, while sitting at the table, there has never been a conversation about HBCUs specifically dealing with this team. They have only, in the initial contract 30 years ago, all they talked about was Florida, Georgia.
Of course.
Just the Florida, Georgia game. Because of my presence at the table, now an HBCU game must be played at every game in that every year in that brand new stadium, just like they have Florida, Georgia enshrined in it. Now, it took work to get it there, but in every other team in the NFL, no black college is mentioned. So that's why being at the table is important.
Now that's a game. How did you go beyond that in terms of programming, in terms of degree program, in terms of, because that's long lasting. I get the game part, but is there anything in that as it relates to the team and the university when it comes to sports management, anything along those lines?
Absolutely. Even when I was a professor here, one of the things I did, I spent 20 years as an anchor reporter, one of the things I did is use those relationships with the team to make sure our students were working at the Jaguars, as a part of the team. And those students are now not only working in media, but doing other things outside of media that they started with in that respect. But now that we have this game being played, that community benefits agreement includes additional workforce development dollars, which are going to directly, impact and affect Edward Waters. So yeah, the funds are already not just put there, but we wanted to be a game to be played there so that the Edward Waters and whatever school, whatever HBCUs are there, can receive the financial benefits, and it's happening.
Senator Davis, this is a private school, not a public. And so what role does the state play in helping this university grow when you have public HBCUs?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked because I'm an alum as well. So this has always been my priority, Edward Waters College. So since I was elected in 2016.
And they're going to cuss you out because it's no longer Edward Waters College.
Did I say that?
Yes, you just did.
Did I say that? And my people looking at me like, what did she just say?
Right. I'm just saying. I'm just letting you know.
University. Let me correct myself. Okay. Thank you for stopping me. Edward Waters University. My folks hear me? Y'all hear me? Because they didn't respond,
they're going to be like, I know she did not just say college.
Well,
that's like somebody at Hampton still saying institute.
Stop.
Don't start.
There is a little age difference between me and this young man, so I just say that right there. But when we're talking about the dollars and cents coming from the state, I have to say that has always been my priority, being an alum from this school. And so since I was elected in 2016, we have brought millions of dollars back, because that's my job, to bring the dollars back to Edward Waters University. And so in 2000...
Millions in what way?
Say it again.
Millions in what way?
Millions of dollars to this school for them to do what they need to do as far as programming, building of the community, what they're going to do around the community. Millions of dollars of what this school needs. There will be put in the hand of the president and his cabinet for them to determine what they need to do. $30 million has been on the table for years coming to this school, and just recently $5 additional million came after the incident with the mass shooting that started here. We brought $5 million more to make sure this school was secure, and that is under the president's purview, and he can do what he needs to do as far as to secure this school and the students that attend here.
See, Aaron, again, as all these places I've traveled, it's very interesting when I'm having conversations with students and we're talking about voting, how there is a disconnect with folks in understanding the role that politics plays, even when you talk about universities. I mean, when I was at Fayetteville State Friday, I was talking with student leaders that were saying how in the conversations they were engaging with other students, some were like, hey, I'm not interested in voting. And I was like, okay, do they know they go to a state school and the state funds the school? I said, so it's a little hard to hear folk complain about something when you don't want to engage in a political process. And what I am constantly trying to explain to folk, whether they are young, middle-aged, or older, is that you cannot act like politics does not play a role in anything in this country. It actually does. Whether you're talking about getting speed bumps, whether you're talking about getting a red light, whether you're talking about zoning, government plays a role in all of that. And so how is that being conveyed to students here to understand that they can't check out of a political process but then want certain things without realizing that government plays a role in that?
That's a good question. Thank you.
I know it's a good question.
No, it was great. It was a great question. Now, don't come for me. I'm a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, so be on my side. But no, we have one of the big things, one of the best parts about being a part of an historically black college, they are the jewels of our community. And so when we think about educating our children, making sure that their faculty look like them, their professors look like them, that is one of the important parts of politics. We get to have these conversations that necessarily you don't get to have at PWI settings or in white settings. I'll say it. All right?
Yeah,
so,
we just go right to the point. We don't use acronyms. We say white.
Okay, so in white settings, we don't get to have that. But at historically black college, I can say, hey, I can't tell you who to vote for, but you got to vote. And, okay, maybe we're not having Bloody Sunday, but voter suppression still exists in this country. Voter suppression exists through white supremacy, gerrymandering, redlining. We can talk about it on all fronts, voting ID. And we talk about those things, but our students have to be aware of that those are the things that's going on. That's what they're trying to prevent you from doing. And just creating this divide of black America. This is a time when we come together. There is no black man against against black woman. We are coming together to vote for an agenda that we need to see, that we need to progress with. Absolutely.
Well, and I'm sitting here because I'm thinking about, again, when we talk about politics, because, let's see here. Let me pull up, how much did y'all get in COVID money? $22.8 million. So this is the actual, so I keep the spreadsheet from the Department of Education because it's always amazing to me when I have these discussions with the folk and we talk about $17 billion from this administration, and then folks are like, well, I ain't never seen it. And I'm going, and I have to explain to them, there are a number of HBCUs that would not have survived were it not for the $6.5 billion specifically in COVID money, especially when it came to the $1.2 billion in relief in terms of for buildings. And again, that's one of those things where that's politics. That doesn't happen if political leaders don't actually make that choice. So in terms of moving forward, what do you see this community needing, not just the university, but also the surrounding area to make sure the university thrives and the surrounding area thrives? What do you see as that vision? And is there a city, state, public-private partnership that's looking at how do you actually redevelop this entire area in a 1 to 3 mile radius?
That's a great one. So as far as how do we see it moving forward, I think the school and the community is all in one. You can't separate it. So the dollars and cents that we're bringing back on the state level is also dollars and cents that we're bringing back to this community. We're bringing it back to the Edward Waters University. And Edward Waters university, like the mayor said, then spills out into the community. So it's all in one, in my mind. And so my councilman may say something different, but there's a handshake there. You can't do one without the other. So when the money comes back, regardless of what level it's on, to this HBCU, it is to improve and better the surrounding community. It's a handshake.
Councilman, when the mayor mentioned this new university close by, of course, red flags immediately went off in my head. Because again, I know how resources are allocated. So how are y'all making sure that the council is not bending over backwards for the University of Florida and ignoring what's already been here?
Well, as a minority voice on the council, let me tell you, I am still going to be...
As a black voice on the council.
And when I say minority, I mean a minority of... And when I... Not...
In terms of voting.
I don't mean in terms of voting. In terms of our voting numbers, and there's only a few black folk, but as a minority of the caucus that we have developed, because we have a legislative council. We have 19 members on our city council, so it is a...
Damn, that's a big city council.
What y'all got 19 people for? 19 folk.
We ain't got 19 in Houston.
So you can only imagine with the $2 billion budget that we're working with, how it is trying to, with those 19 different personalities, trying to do stuff for different parts of the district. But what I'll tell you is, it's interesting you said that, like the public-private government partnerships, those things are important. One thing that I safeguard and make sure is that we are not using taxpayer dollars for things that taxpayers cannot use. So the majority of the funds for University of Florida's campus were raised privately. There's Dreamfinders Homes and some of those other organizations. They were raised privately. What I'm pushing for is that any dollars, whether it be the law school that JU just put downtown, whether it be other parts that the city is subsidizing or partnering with, that our schools in our community, black schools, get the same thing. And so I'll tell you, we are working on a project that I just did in my district, and I did it because I wanted to show that it can work, a public-private government partnership. I took some money that I had access to, was able to talk to one of the local developers, JWB Homes, and talk to Habajacks, which is the local chapter of Habitat for Humanity. Mm-hmm. We are creating a subdivision in my district through this public-private government partnership where every home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, new builds, $220,000. You won't find that anywhere in this state. The reason that I put that on the ground is so that we can have a paradigm for what to work with. What I'm believing, and there's one of the developers that I'm working closely with who is a black developer, is doing the same thing in an area called Durkeeville, not far from here. While it's not as big as the development in my community, we're able to put those things on the ground so that we can say, here is the paradigm. All we got to do is add water and stir.
Tracy, last question for you. Are you seeing, from your students, are you seeing, first of all, in terms of attending here, are a majority from here, or are they from other parts of the state or out of the state?
Most of our students are from Florida.
And then when leaving here, are they staying locally, or are they moving to, going back home, moving to other parts of the state?
Most of them are moving. They're leaving the city. But, you know, the goal is for them to stay in the community. We want them to be proud of their community, build up their community. And one thing about working for President Faison and the provost is that we're not going to let people siphon our talent, our black voices, our black intellect from our communities and take them someplace else. So we're working really hard with our strategic partnerships to make sure that the talent stays in this area and that EW sold into you, so sow back into this community.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate all of y'all being on the panel, including the captain. All right.
Yo.
Yeah, a little okay sign.
I will never let this down.
All right, no,
never
you
let
won't,
this down.
because you started it, but I ended it. All right, y'all. Got to go to a break. When we come back, more conversation here from Edward Waters University. Man, y'all can play during the break. I'll toss it to y'all. Come on, wake up. Wake up. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. So you're checking money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And brothers, on Sunday, our Win with Black Men call in support of Vice President Kamala Harris. Former President Barack Obama will be on that call. And so we begin at 7 p.m. Eastern. QR code right there on the screen for you to register, or go to winwithblackmen.org. Band, take us to break.
wrongfully convicted.
5 teenagers were arrested, tried, convicted, and sent to prison.
No men were exonerated.
What he did to us, he tried to end us.
Of course I hate these people.
So-called the Central Park 5.
Calling for execution.
And let's all hate these people.
You cannot have this man go into office again.
I want society to hate him.
We were innocent kids.
The confessions were coerced.
Today, we are exonerated. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict.
This is about democracy being on the ballot.
I have absolutely no compassion.
Look at Kamala. She represents the kaleidoscope of the human family. There's something different happening in America. We will get the opportunity to build a future where we will be able to thrive and not just survive.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Disastrous. That's what independent news sources and conservatives are saying about Project 2025. It would threaten hundreds of thousands of jobs, give massive tax breaks to big oil, and roll back protections. A dream for them, a disaster for you.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message because you work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, we're back at Edward Waters University. My next guest became president here 6 years ago, and they were a college. They're now a university. So joining us is Zachary Faison, president of Edward Waters. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Let's talk about, one, you had to deal with, like a lot of presidents, deficits coming in. Walk us through dealing with that. And making sure you have full buy-in, not only from board, but also from student, faculty, and staff to understand the proper way for the university to move forward, to grow.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, I mean, that's not a unique problem. And so we had to really get our students, our faculty, our staff, our board, and this community all moving in the right direction. And so we were very fortunate to be able to do that. You mentioned deficits. We had run some deficits for almost a decade. And so we knew as a small private that the key to really turning around those fortunes most quickly is an increasing enrollment. And so we made some really strategic and very deliberate efforts to grow our enrollment.
So what was the enrollment when you arrived?
The prior 5 years have been an average about 880 students.
Gotcha.
And so we're at almost 1,200 students. We're the fastest growing HBCU in this state, fastest growing college university in this city.
Now, what is your capacity?
So I'm glad you asked that. We are at capacity. And so one of the things that you were talking about earlier was really resonating with me in terms of public-private partnerships, in terms of growing this institution and how that could impact this Newtown community. This past year, Roland, I turned away almost 200 students. Why? Because I don't have housing. I don't have enough space. And so it really positions EWU in a very unique way. Most of our HBCUs, as you know, are really struggling for enrollment. This institution's enrollment is skyrocketing, and I'm calling on city leadership and others to partner with us.
Well, what's interesting that because what you laid out, listen, you had issues at Tennessee State, Florida A&M, Texas Southern, many schools for that very reason. And it was interesting in Tennessee, you had these, white Republican legislators who were complaining because they had to go out and get hotel rooms, but the University of Tennessee had to do the exact same thing. Right. And so that's actually a good problem. And so in terms of your 5-year plan, what is that in terms of, are you looking at additional dormer space? Are you looking at, developing apartments around the area? Because if you turn away 200 folks, that's a huge number.
That's right. Well, we're on the precipice right now of closing out our current 5-year plan, and we grew faster than what we expected to grow. And so right now we're having conversations. As a matter of fact, my CFO is in the audience now. We're looking at submitting an application to the HBCU Capital Financing Program. That's an option. We're working with our board in terms of how we can garner more resources, all right, because we need new residential facilities on our campus. I mean, desperately. So it's something that is, as we look at the next 5 to 10 years, we see ourselves being able to grow to anywhere from 1,500 to 1,800 students, but we know we're going to need the capacity to be able to do that. And so,
do you have availability or capacity surrounding the university in terms of complexes, anything like that?
So we actually have land that we've identified already that's on our campus to prospectively bring about a 300 to 500 bed facility. We've kind of priced it out. It's about $40 or $50 million. But the great thing is this. You talked about deficits. For the past 5 years consecutively, Roland, we've had multi-million-dollar operating surpluses. So now when we go to look at some creative financing and that kind of thing, we can be an attractive option for financiers that are looking at an institution that's growing and thriving.
And that land is on campus or off campus?
It's on campus. It's actually on campus. So the land isn't an issue for us. It's having a partner that will work with us in terms of getting the financing. We can show, hey, we can put the students in the beds.
Right.
And so now we're just now at the point now, after the past 5 years, again, of really turning the financial fortunes of our institution around, we're now an attractive investment as an institution.
Size, what's the size of the campus, acreage?
So about 40 acres total. And then, of course, being in an urban environment, it's disparate. We have some properties that are not necessarily adjacent to the campus. So one of the things that we're working to do, my father, for example, is an A&T grad. He tells me all the time how when he was at A&T, the contiguous campus that you see now was not what it was when he was in school. So what we're doing now, we're utilizing some funds to begin to purchase properties that are adjacent to us so that we can create a more contiguous space for our campus.
And then what that also does is, because I know there were some developers who were talking to other HBCUs about building housing capacity off campus where it's not necessarily, the onus is on them and not necessarily on the university, but it's alleviating the housing problems.
Yeah, that's an option. I will tell you about 85% of my students are Pell eligible. And so the transportation is an issue, right? And so we're wanting to make sure that we can provide housing that's adjacent to the campus. We know, through the data and the research that a student, particularly as freshmen and sophomores, if they stay on campus and have that positive experience on campus, they're going to perform much better academically. So the off-campus housing is an option, but we really want to make sure that we wrap our arms real tightly around our students and keep them here on our physical campus.
How did the resources from the Biden-Harris administration help this university get through COVID?
So they were tremendous in the sense that, as you know, the majority of that funding went directly into supporting our students to stay in school. A lot of times folks look at HBCUs and they disparage, graduation rates, retention rates, but what they don't tell you is that our students are not dropping out, they're stopping out because of a lack of finances, right? And so many of those dollars were very critical in helping our students stay in school, complete their programs and study. We were also able to make some physical infrastructural improvements to our campus.
Was that dollars going directly to students?
Directly to students.
Because, see, that's the thing that, I've gotten to a whole lot of arguments with a bunch of people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I've explained to them that a number of institutions literally gave payments directly to students. So
students, how many of my students that were here, y'all remember? We got the upperclassmen.
Who got a check?
Y'all remember when we were giving, cutting the checks directly to you all? Okay, Chris got me, right.
And that is actually, to me, that's a story that's not been told. Right. So when we talk about that $17 billion, that's not just for buildings. That was literally during that period. And I know Meharry did that. I know some other schools did the exact same thing.
Yeah, we did that as well. And I'll tell you one of the things, again, that was unique about Edward Waters is throughout the pandemic, our enrollment was skyrocketing, while most institutions really had to use those funds to stay above water. So we were able to really take those funds and do some things programmatically that really began to launch us. As you mentioned earlier, we moved from Edward Waters College to Edward Waters University in the height of the pandemic, right, in 2021. So again, we were able to utilize those dollars to help our students, then also do some things very strategically to grow our institution.
So we talk about that growth. How much of that growth is physical on campus? How much is it online? When I was chatting with Van Newkirk Sr. when he was at Fisk, he talked about the growth they were having at Fisk online, and he was trying to explain to his board of trustees who were not listening. Well, they kept talking about trying to build more space on the campus. He said, no, we can take advantage of people who want to be fifth students, but who economically can't necessarily leave their cities and come here. He said our growth can actually come from an online presence.
Well, the majority of our growth really was a byproduct of the traditional student model in terms of those students actually coming to our campus. But I was having a conversation the other day with my vice president for enrollment management, and in the interim, given that we don't have the space, our growth now is going to take the form of online. We've moved actually all of our degree programs are now available online. We mentioned earlier we became Edward Waters College, Edward Waters University, so now we have 4 graduate degree programs. All 4 of them are online, a master's in cybersecurity, a master of public administration, a master of business administration, and a master of education policy and advocacy. And they are all 100% online and can be completed in as little as 12 months. And so we see our growth, our next really peak of growth through the online learning module.
Do you have any partnerships and alliances with corporations that's specific to degree programs? Because that is and whether it's major companies in this city and also in this state.
Yeah, we actually are just on the precipice of forging one, for example, with the Mayo Clinic, of course, internationally known. We just launched a new degree program, our Bachelor of Public Health degree program, and so we're literally on the precipice again of solidifying a partnership with the Mayo Clinic here in Jacksonville in that regard. About 2 years ago, we did solidify a partnership with the University of Florida College of Nursing, and so now we have a pipeline program that Edward Waters students can come here, major in biology, and then go one more year and receive a Bachelor of Science in Nursing as we really begin to try to impact the health disparities that unfortunately impact so many of our communities of color.
It's very interesting right now. I've heard there are a lot of folks in HBCU space who really want their schools to go full in when it comes to sports. But that's also a money drainer. At the end of the day, it's an arms race when you talk about the Power 5 conferences. And so how do you temper students or alumni who want to be, who believe that, hey, we can be competing with these other schools when the reality is the amount of money it takes to do that is just totally different than it used to be.
So I love you, and you my guy, but I'm going to push back on you.
Okay.
For Edward Waters, we have positioned athletics as a money driver for us.
How?
Okay, I'm going to tell you how. My basketball team, I have 45 basketball players. My football team, we carry about 125. I have a JV and I have a varsity. I'm going to give you the secret to my sauce. We're Division II, so we've moved to NCAA Division II. Division II only allows 36 scholarships, right? But I got 125 football players. A lot of them kids are paying, right? So I think you've got to be creative around the model, right? My baseball team, my baseball program, I got 90 baseball players. You can't get, 9 on the field at a time, 9, 12 on the field. So we're very strategic about the fact that, when I was 17, 18, I thought I was going to the NBA. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going to the NBA, right? A lot of kids just want to say, I play college football, baseball, basketball, right? And those are payers, right? So I think we've got to rethink that model, right?
So, but how are you generating the revenue to support that?
Tuition, right? All those students are payers, right? So they're not necessarily getting a full football scholarship. And so one of the things that we've done just in the last 6 months, we were members of the NAIA. We're now NCAA Division II. So we're in the same conference now with Tuskegee, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta. And for us to be associated with that brand meant a whole lot for an Edward Waters University, right? Because again, you're talking about now being on the tips of folks' tongues, being able to recruit and get into places that formerly didn't even know that we existed. So it really has been a boon for Edward Waters.
And how are you getting your fan base to also understand that they have to also support that through actual spending? Because a number of athletic departments, whether they're PWIs or HBCUs, run massive athletic department deficits.
Absolutely. I'm with you when you're right. So we've got some work to do there. That move to NCAA Division II, we've got our alums and we've got folks and have got to get on board in supporting us because the institution can only do so much, as you know. So we have to have our external constituencies and stakeholders to partner with us if we want to continue that forward trajectory in terms of our athletic program.
So when I asked earlier about your student population, what do you think is the cap in terms of when you say this is where we can be comfortable in terms of numbers and sustaining that number over a period of years?
I mentioned earlier about 1,500 to 1,800. I think that's a really strong number for us as an institution. Again, we're getting ready to establish our new 10-year strategic plan, and that's going to be our goal. Through a mix of online, some additional traditional spaces on campus as well, we think we can get there.
All right, then. Well, we certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks a bunch and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, then. Folks, got to go to a break. Let's go live to Atlanta. Bruce Springsteen is on stage right now at the Vice President Kamala Harris rally there in Atlanta, Georgia. Bruce, take us to break.
Gamblers, yeah, this train carries lost souls. I said, now this train, dreams will not be thwarted on this train. Faith will be rewarded on this train. Hear the steel wheels singing on this train, the bells of freedom ringing. Well, big wheels roll through fields where sunlight streams. Oh, meet me.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
The advantages of pursuing a PhD. Miss Edward Waters University, EWU is my HBCU. Greetings, I am Brianna Pendergrass, a second-year cell and molecular biology and biochemistry PhD student at Brown University and a proud alum of Edward Waters University. And currently I'm in my lab, the Dawson Lab at Brown, where we do ovarian cancer research and study chemo-resistant cell populations. It is a very empowering feeling, knowing that the field is very underrepresented in Black women, and then knowing that you can be a part of the change in order to advance the amount of women that are in this field. And then I would say, as a token or for future generation of Black women in STEM, I would say let that same empowerment motivate you. It can be very easy to deter you away from the field just because you know there aren't a lot of people that look like you. So instead, let it be a very motivating factor. Of course, I see myself giving back to my alma mater. I'm already doing so now. Recently, I was a part of a class lecture in a course that I took while at Edward Waters, where I wanted to basically talk about the advantages of pursuing a PhD and also give some tips on how you can go about finding the right program for you and how to go about filling out the applications for grad school. The retool program was definitely the one that ignited my passion for cancer research. Through this program, I was able to participate in understanding metabolic reprogramming and glioblastoma cells. So now at Brown, I'm actually understanding the same concept of metabolic reprogramming, but in ovarian cancer cells. So I believe it really did put an edge in giving me some background in the research area topic. And then also being able to apply to this program, I was able to gather application materials that I needed for graduate school. So I had to have a personal statement, research statement, and recommendation letters for those programs that I was able to carry over into getting into the PhD program I'm in now. From the Dawson Lab at Brown University, I'm giving my Tiger family 2 claps and
All right, folks, welcome back to Edward Waters University here in Jacksonville. Joining me right now is Jordan Weeks, Miss EWU, Christopher Wright, who is Mr. EWU, also senior. Nyla Blair, president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and Robert Thomas, also a recent graduate. How we doing?
Good, how are you?
All good. So first of all, let's start this way. Lots of discussion on many of these campuses regarding this election that's going on. So give me a sense of the conversations that y'all have been having on campus. Are folks interested? Are they motivated? What are they talking about? Anybody can start.
Well, over the summer, my main initiative was getting students registered to vote for the upcoming election. With getting them registered, I was able to have personal conversations with them as to see how they feel about the upcoming election. And the number one thing that I've seen that we had to target was trying to figure out how to tell them that our generation fits into the conversation of voting. When I was telling them about registration and voting and everything like that, they were trying to understand how do they fit in the conversation, does their vote actually matter? So we had to sit there and have conversation, historical context to show our generation, yes, your vote does matter, that it has always mattered, that reason why we get so much pushback is because it matters.
Well, the thing that, I mean, again, I've had that conversation as well, and what I often tell people is, you complain about a lot of stuff, you are part of this thing. Yeah. So it's a little hard. So when people hit me with, I don't know if my vote matters, I'm like, what are you talking about? Give me some of those conversations, especially conversations you've had with brothers.
So one of the main initiatives that we have been pushing across this campus is mainly voters education. We recently just had an event where we were talking about voters education, talking about voters apathy, and just telling the students that our right to vote has only been over 60, 70 years, and the fact that we're in college, our vote is the one that matters sometimes the most, because we're going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and these impacts and these decisions that are being made in offices are going to directly impact us, right, especially at HBCUs as well.
See, now that's what's been driving me crazy. I'll have folks who are millennials and Gen Z say, I'm so sick of all these old folk running, and I'm like, because old people vote. You know, and like, it's really not that difficult. And decisions that are being made today in D.C., in the state capitol, in this city and county government, school boards, those decisions are having impact over the next 10, 20, 30 years. So this idea that somebody who's 18, 19, 20 can say, oh, that has an impact on me, to me, that is crazy. Yeah. Go ahead. Well, y'all go ahead. You can jump.
No, I was going to say, so I'm 3 years. I'm an alumni, so I'm 3 years out of school, and I would definitely say I'm feeling those impacts now, definitely because I'm outside of school, and they definitely impact me.
Now, were you voting when you were in school?
I definitely was voting when I was in school, so I had a pleasure of, I have respect for you, so I have a pleasure of being a part of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Brother Johnson, who was here earlier, I don't know what he had going on, but we'll talk about him later.
His grade point was high enough. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Hopefully we keep him in check, Chris right here. But yeah, I had the pleasure of voting in college, but I was also very uneducated coming into college, and had the pleasure of being on this beloved institution, educating me on my voice and why my voice matters. And I think it's very important that it's a structure to how you use your voice, right? Like in the black community, I think we definitely got to be educated on that, because it's not enough just to talk on social media and talk amongst your friends. You have to do it the right way, and there's a structure to that.
And now it ain't like it's hard. It's across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were driving here, I see the signs, and I'm like, it's right here. So it's not like it's a long walk to go vote.
Probably walk past it every day, too.
Right. Go ahead.
So we recently...
Hold on. Go ahead.
So
hold on.
So what we've been doing is our motto this year initiative is to take 4 or more to the polls. So what we're doing as Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we're ensuring that students on our campus are informed on how to vote, early voting dates, what that looks like, and kind of informing them on what's on the ballot and things of that nature. So that's what we've been doing to ensure that students know how to vote.
Now, obviously, a lot of attention is always focused on presidential race, but if folks are registered here, they can also vote in city elections. They can vote in school board elections. And so is it your thought process to get people to understand that this is actually, you typically have elections virtually almost every single year. And so how do you want to create this sort of this ongoing effort? Because I keep saying that we spend so much energy trying to get folk organized and mobilized for a presidential election. Then when it's over, people are like, okay, I can go back to doing what I'm doing, as opposed to, no, what's the next one? Anybody?
So again, I'm speaking outside of being an alumni. I would definitely say those are very, very important things. So again, I got a 2.5-month-old daughter, and obviously voting for who's going to be on the school board, who's going to be the judge, those are all things that are very, very important to me as a now newly father. So I think and again, I was definitely uneducated coming into school, but I think it's very, very, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to come to this institution to learn about voter registration. And it's not just a presidential election. And even when you are voting on a presidential election, there's a lot of other stuff on there that you need to be paying attention to that has impact on your daily life, either while you're in college or after college.
You got constitutional amendments on the ballot this year when it comes to marijuana, when it comes to reproductive rights, judicial races, DA races. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
To your point, I think for us to fix that gap is to continue the conversation and to outreach. Continue to have a conversation in high schools and colleges every year, because the main part with HBCUs and African Americans, that we don't know our history when it comes to voting and everything like that when it comes to African Americans. So continuing the conversation, letting them know what's on the ballot, things about voting in local elections, and not just waiting till the time of elections to talk about it, but have a continual conversation. So when it's time, they're not just voting one time because, you know, in this election, they're continual voters. That's the thing that we need to get. We really need to outreach, where we really need to get is these high school kids and these freshman kids, so they get the education, the knowledge, so they can be continual voters in our community.
Well, the reality is if you turn 18 by election, then you can actually vote.
Yeah.
I was in Dallas on early voting started in Texas on Monday, and I was at a high school where they had a stroll to the polls, and they had about 50-plus students who actually walked down. Their walk was a hell of a lot longer than y'all's. It was a lot longer than y'all's. But again, you know, a lot of high school students didn't realize that they come of age, they can actually vote in this election. And the thing, again, when we talk about that process, it is ongoing. And it has to be. And it is just bothersome to me when I look at numbers. So you take Detroit, for example. If Detroit, the reality is this here, if Detroit hits 51% turnout, it's a cakewalk for the vice president. What I keep saying to African Americans all across the country, we should be trying to hit 70% of our numbers. If we hit 70%, we sweep elections. Because that's a huge, we talk about 50% to 70%, that's a huge number of people. And it's just trying to get people to understand that the power is literally sitting there, it's just untapped. Go ahead.
So definitely to your point, just basically in the black community, I think to basically what you said is that we got to take back our power and make sure that we do go vote, because in the past elections there have been a decrease in voting, especially in the black community, and we need to make sure that we're actually getting out and going to the polls, so we make sure that we're taking our power back, not in just this election but the elections to come.
I think also part of this is getting folk to understand that you don't vote for personalities, you vote for policies. And then when you lay these things on the table, I mean, it's very clear. It's funny. I was seeing this clip. I'm not sure if our folks grabbed it. So it was in North Carolina, and there was this one brother who was talking to another brother, and this one brother was a Trump guy, and he was talking about how Trump gave $500 million to black people with his platinum plan in 2020. He was going on and on in the video, and I'm watching. I'm like, he is hella wrong on everything, you know. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, lie, 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 lie. And the problem is, the brother who he was talking to didn't know how to counter it, because he didn't know. And I think that's also part of the deal. It's so much misinformation out here that folks are just falling for all of it. And it really requires peers to have to be constantly saying, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Have you gotten a sense as well, Nyla, in terms of when y'all having these, give me a sense of what conversations have been like when folks have said stuff and you like, oh, I'm about to cuss them out, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I've had some conversations with my peers, and the question, my vote doesn't matter, is the common question, or the common statement. And I say, hey, it does matter. You don't know that the power is in your vote. And now, when
they say it doesn't matter, are they saying that because of Electoral College? Or, why are they saying that? What does that mean?
So when I talk to my peers, they're like, oh.
Do they not know how Electoral College works?
I don't think they don't. The lack of knowledge in that area, it makes them think, my contribution, it doesn't matter at all.
So they don't realize that whoever gets the most votes in this state gets Electoral College votes of this state, so your vote kind of does.
No.
Man, I don't know where these high school these people going to. But listen, that's why I keep saying we got to have Schoolhouse Rock 2.0. Because it is crazy. I get that all the time, and I'm like, what are you talking about? It absolutely drives me crazy. And so you said that's what you hear as well?
That's the main answer I get. And it's not even just from our younger generation. When I was getting people registered to vote, I was out in the community in Jacksonville. The older generation who weren't going to vote, that was their answer as well. I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't matter. And so I always bring it back. I always tie it back into the Reconstruction era when African Americans were integrated into society, where we had over 2,000 elected positions in office. So we've always had the want to vote and everything like that. So we have historical context, in fact, that actually it really does matter. And I told them, I said, just as much money as they're putting in for me to get you registered to vote is just as much money as they're putting in to make sure that you do not vote. Mm-hmm. I say, if it did not have any power, why would they do that? That doesn't even make any sense.
They try real damn hard to stop it.
You're right. It doesn't make any sense. Why would I put time, money, and energy in something that doesn't work? So I really pride myself. Yesterday we did a stroll to the polls. It was really beautiful seeing all of our students come in there and go and vote and everything. Like students who I've registered over the summer, when it actually goes through and they can actually vote here on campus and have their voices be heard, that is amazing to me. But it's the lack of education that's really getting this generation. So just social media, just looking at a story, you think that that's a fact. No, you need to do it yourself.
Well, and the thing that jumps out as well, again, how you look at how votes happen, this is a voting block. Again, if you take this university, if you take Florida A&M, if you take, you go to any of these cities, literally it's a block. At North Carolina A&T, the Republicans were so cold-blooded, they actually split the campus into 2 congressional districts. So A&T is the largest HBCU in the country, some 7,000 students. So if A&T was in 1 congressional district, they were sitting here going, if 50% of those folk vote, that's 3,500 votes. So they split the campus into 2 congressional districts. That ain't the case at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, or NC State. And so that was by design, so the students there could not have a direct impact on winning that 1 congressional district. That's the kind of games that are being played that folk don't quite understand, which also says that they're scared of that power. But to your point, if we don't actually use it, then it goes to waste. In terms of the issues, what are folks saying? What matters to you? What are your peers saying? The issues that they want to be addressed by elected officials on the national level. What are you hearing?
Majority of what I'm hearing is inflation. That's really is like the biggest thing for American citizens right now is how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to feed myself? I don't think, I'm going to be honest with you, Americans are not really in the political world. They're not really looking too deep into, yes, they're looking at abortion rights and everything like that, but not really looking too deep.
Yeah, most of our folks, they're not this deep.
They're not looking that deep.
They ain't as deep as mustard on a hot dog.
Right.
They ain't that deep.
But they're looking at how we feed our, so I think when they're looking at both candidates, I think that why they're kind of like overshadowing things that they're seeing, as they're trying to figure out economically which president will actually put me in the ability to where I can live for the next 4 years.
But do they understand that a president actually doesn't drive inflation? Another piece, that coming out of COVID, the United States has actually lowered inflation better than any other major country in the world.
And see, that goes back to not doing the education yourself.
See, that's why they got to watch this show.
Yes,
See, y'all need to have viewing parties of this show every day, because I talk about this stuff every single day, specifically to black people. So that's what they got to do. Any other issues? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I would just expound on that. I mean, I think that's really the biggest thing, inflation. And obviously there's a big housing insecurity issue going on where, again, like young workers who are just graduating college, is very challenging for us to take care of our family. It's not just about groceries, it's also finding a place to live and kind of hang our heads. So I would say that's definitely most of the things that we're talking about. And again,
are they aware what that's all about?
I don't think so. I don't think they're totally educated on
so let
what
me help
that is
y'all
about.
out. Okay, this is just real basic. This is just very basic, okay? So we're going to keep, as my man, late Joe Madison said, you got to put it where the ghost can get it. Okay, we had a housing crisis in a recession in 2008. Obama gets elected, comes in 2009, okay? Between 2010 and 2019, we built the fewest number of homes in America since the 1940s. The previous decade, we built 14 million homes. It was down to 6.5. In this decade, we haven't built more homes as well. So you got rising demand, you don't have available homes. So because of rising demand, then you got private equity. They purchased a significant number of homes. By 2030, Wall Street will own 40% of all single-family homes. They're not trying to sell homes. They want people paying rental prices. So when you got high demand, low availability, then everything goes up. The price of houses go up. Rent grows up because the people who own it know you're actually forced to actually pay it. So in the vice president's plan, I had the guy with the National Housing Conference on my show the other day. Her plan is to build 3 million new additional homes. Everybody's focused on the $25,000 for a down payment, but it's the building of new homes which is really key. That's what's driving the housing crisis in this country. We literally have not built enough homes in the past 15 years to keep up with the demand. That's just real basic. That's just real basic. And it's amazing the people who just go, who don't understand it. And the federal government doesn't build homes. They don't build homes because homes are actually built in local communities. That's local zoning. So if cities, that's why Marsha Fudge, when she was Secretary of HUD, she was traveling to cities saying, y'all have to actually make changes locally when it comes to building homes. And last point, after that home foreclosure crisis in 2009, we actually have fewer home builders today than we did a decade ago. So all of that is what has contributed to this housing crisis in the country. And then folks are trying to blame somebody, but they don't understand that housing crisis a decade ago in 2008, that's actually, we're still feeling the effects of that 16 years later. Just to help y'all out there.
Yeah, we need it.
Anything else? Any other issues you're hearing that on the minds of your peers? So we got inflation, housing. Anything else?
Of course, abortion rights. Yes, of course, abortion rights. Yes.
Just with young adult being parents and things like that, just the women in the community, they just want to know that their body is their right. So I know that's been a main thing amongst our campus and just across the world, just from our generation.
Just to elaborate on what he said, that is one of the main issues amongst my peers as well. Just touching on the Amendment 4 saying that women will or will not have control of their bodies, and it's unfortunate that we even have to have this conversation. There's no other issue when we say, hey, when you go to the doctor or anything like that, like, someone is dictating like what, things like.
Okay. No, I'm listening. I'm shaking my head like that. I'm like, I got you. I'm not cutting you off. Go ahead. Okay. You can finish your thought.
But just to elaborate on the abortion laws, and that's usually what my peers have been saying. So,
Okay. All right, then. Well, look, I appreciate all of y'all being on the panel. Thank you for the conversation. We're going to have a conversation next with board members here, but first, we're going to go live to Atlanta. Tyler Perry is now at the microphone at the rally in Georgia. We'll be right back at Edward Waters University in Jacksonville. Let's go to Atlanta.
Taking a full-page ad out on young black men in the New York Times. I found out about the birther lie. We all heard it, saying that Barack Obama was not born in this country. There are undertones there and there are echoes there that we all had to pay attention to. So I watched him when he won the presidency. I watched him say that there were good people on both sides when neo-Nazis were screaming, "Jews will not replace us." I watched him from the Central Park 5 to Project 2025. And what I realize is that in this Donald Trump America, there is no dream that looks like me. We want a president who believes that this American dream is for everyone. And that president is Kamala Harris. We want a president that understands, like I did in Georgia. When I came here, I didn't have anything, but I had a dream. So I worked, and against all odds, I worked my way to where I am now. It was here in Georgia. See, in Georgia, you know what we do? We don't sit around and complaining. We go to work. It was here where I became a studio owner. My first studio was on Krog Street. Now that is Krog Street Market. And then I bought another studio, which was on Greenbrier, right near Greenbrier Mall on Continental Colony Parkway. And it was there that Barack Obama came in 2012 to do a fundraiser. And he was getting ready to leave, and he said, "Come ride with me. We're going to my house for a fundraiser." And I'm like, "Wait, you want me to ride with you and the beast?" So I get in the car, and traffic is stopped, and we're riding, and he's talking to me. And for those of you who are old enough to remember Charlie Brown, all I heard was wah, 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 wah. I finally said, "I'm sorry, Mr. President, but I haven't heard a word you've said, because I'm in awe of this country. What a great country that you could become president of the United States." And he turned to me quick as a flash and he said, "Yes, but what a great country that you could become Tyler Perry." From that moment, I went and I bought a bigger studio. I bought Fort McPherson Army Base. Right now, where we hire thousands of people are coming through that doors. And I don't care what was stacked up against me. I don't care. I didn't pay attention to that. What I paid attention to was, how do I help somebody? I broke through that door, laid it down on its side, and let it become a ramp so that somebody else can get higher too. You want to hear something about an American dream? Fort McPherson was once a Confederate Army base, where there were Confederate soldiers trying to plot and plan on how to keep 3.9 million Negroes enslaved. Now that land is owned by me. Let's talk about an American dream. It's seniors working so hard and working hard and seniors working hard. And what I realized when I bought it, that seniors around, their taxes were going through the roof. So what I did was, I was like, no, you're not gonna come here and take these seniors' houses. I paid everybody's taxes up for years so that they can keep their houses. When an 85-year-old woman in Coweta County lost her house to a fire and wanted a place for all her grandkids, I rebuilt that house for her. Most recently, I saw in the AJC a story where there was a woman who hired this contractor and he gutted her house and left her there with nothing. She was living in a house with no plumbing and no walls for years. I rebuilt that house for her. Why am I telling you this? I'm not telling you this to be bragging. What I'm telling you about it is, what I want you to understand is I have compassion for our seniors. So when a candidate says that we have lowered the cost of insulin to $35 for seniors, that candidate has my vote. I put many kids through college, and recently there was a family, a woman who was murdered by her husband, and she had 3 kids that were of college age. I put all those kids through college. So when I hear a candidate say, we are going to do what we can to reduce student loan debt, that is a candidate that I can stand with. I stand with a candidate who has an American dream for everyone. She stands with us. And she has an American dream for our children. And let me tell you something about the children. I don't know if you remember, but her DNC speech was great, right? But there's a moment that you may have missed. When the cameras were rolling and she was walking around and the balloons are falling and confetti's falling, I'm watching her smile and wave. Her family comes out, but there are 2 little girls on the stage. And I see her constantly making sure they're okay, not getting too close to the edge. That's what you want. See, the little things will tell you about the heart of a person. In that speech, she talked about how we have more in common than what separates us. So, Georgia, I want to put that to the test. I didn't have a father who gave me millions of dollars to start a business. Did you? Didn't think so. My mother didn't have some great legacy, but she taught me how to pray my way through a situation. It sounds like we have that in common. I'm the kind of American that believes in a secure border, but at the same time believes that if anyone is coming seeking legal asylum, our arms should be open to them. I'm the kind of American that believes that if you are running for office, you shouldn't sink and tank a bipartisan bill to help the border so that you could use it for your own glory. If you are like me, I worked my ass off to buy my first house and build my business and take care of my family. That is the American dream. I believe if you work that hard, and you put into Social Security, when you get to a certain age, that you put in should be there waiting for you because it's yours. I believe that we all should have affordable health care and it not be replaced with the concept of a plan. What the hell? I'm the kind of American that believes that no matter what your party, we ought to be able to sit down and have civil conversation so that we can work toward a solution, the same as I do with our governor, Brian Kemp. I'm the kind of man that believes, I'm the kind of man that believes that the government nor a man should be telling a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. I'm the kind of American who believes that poll workers should do their civic duty without being harassed and threatened like Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss in Fulton County. And I am not the kind of American that glories in, enjoys, laughs at, or celebrates an 80-year-old man being hit with a hammer because his wife is in politics and you don't agree with her. And two things can be true at once. I am not the kind of man that glory in, celebrates, enjoy, or laughs at a 78-year-old former president almost meeting his death at an assassin's bullet in Butler's, Pennsylvania. It's not right. It's about decency, America, and I think you agree with me. But I am the kind of American that believes if you lose an election, that you honor the constitutional, peaceful transfer of power. And judging by your reaction, I believe Kamala is right. We have more in common than what separates us. As I'm closing here, I just want to talk about that quilt that I used to wrap up in my grandmother's car, that quilt that my grandmother gave me. That quilt was a tapestry of beautiful pieces, but I completely ignored it. I didn't think it was worth anything because she had made it from all of these stitches and gave it to me as a gift. And I was walking past this antique store years later, and I saw one in the window, and I go, wow, that's a beautiful quilt. It reminds me of my grandmother. So I walk in, I talk to the lady. She started explaining to me that each patch in that quilt was worth this and meant this because of the woman who made it. So when I think about America, I think about my grandmother's quilt. We are all shapes, sizes, and colors, but we are one. And it was so important for me to stand with a candidate who understands that we as America, we are a quilt. And I could never stand with a candidate who wants America to be a sheet. So today, I voted for Kamala Harris. And Georgia, it was only about 11,400 votes that separated Trump and Biden. So every vote counts. So I stand here, full-throated, with my full chest, begging you, imploring you, let's get out and make Kamala Harris the 47th president of the United States of America. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.
University, and I was also the valedictorian in the year 2022, and now I'm proudly pursuing my PhD at the University of Pennsylvania in immunology, and this has just been a very enriching experience so far, and I'm excited to continue. Well, to the first part of that question, Edward Waters University is the first historically Black university in the state of Florida, and I believe that speaks to the excellence and the history of this university. And it drew my interest knowing that it was a small community of Black professors that will just help me to alleviate to the next version of myself. And in addition to that, the experience there, the community and the different co-curricular activities that I was a part of, that shaped my drive in being a better version of myself, where I could work to the full potential of my academic capabilities by being mentored by different people, and also the holistic class environment that I had in the different courses that fueled my interest in wanting to do research going forward. Yeah, so I'm very thankful. Like, my experience at Edward Waters University really shaped me for my journey towards pursuing my PhD at UPenn, and this was motivated or was driven by different persons, such as my mentors, specifically Dr. Brian Seymour, who is an immunology professor there, and he was one of the main persons that introduced me to the environment and also shaped my interest in performing or wanting to learn more about immunotherapy. In addition to that, in my first year as a freshman, I was introduced to Foundation for Fortitude, which is an organization that look out for young Black women coming in from different international countries, and also some underprivileged persons who don't have the experience like others to pursue their dreams. And I was mentored by some of the greatest persons I've met in Florida, women who are just very motivational in their efforts to help you to just own your potential and to not be distracted by the noise that surrounds you. And those are two of the most important mentorship kind of platforms that I was a part of. Outside of that, I was also a part of the Trio Society, which really played a good role in my academic strengths, that that projected me on this path. In addition to that, just the overall, all the professors there at the Edward Waters University, even the president and his wife, everyone played a vital role in shaping my future so far. And I just want to thank them, because without EWC, I would not be where I am today. So I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Folks, we're back at Edward Waters University in Jacksonville. While we are here, President Obama, he's speaking in Atlanta. And so he followed Tyler Perry, who just spoke there. So if you want to see that live stream, we have that stream going on our Black Start Network app, as well as on our YouTube channel as well. And then, of course, we'll be restreaming that entire rally after today's show, and then sharing all of these clips on all of our social media platforms. And so y'all can be sure to check that out. And so we're monitoring the feed as well. And, of course, after he gets done, not sure how long the former president is going to be speaking. Vice President Kamala Harris is going to follow him. And then we'll be carrying her remarks in full. All right, folks, let's talk about the importance of boards. We know that there are a lot of changes happening at HBCUs, and there are some HBCUs that are doing great jobs because they have very supportive boards. There are some other ones that got some serious problem with their boards. And we've discussed that on this show on numerous occasions. Joining us right now, Pamela Prier, Board of Trustee member here, Charles Spencer. We have Dr. Freddie Grooms McClendon, as well as we have Reverend Clarence Williams as well. Everybody, are y'all good? Y'all good? Y'all good? Y'all straight? Y'all feeling good? You awake? I just checked. I did. I called her first. See, you ain't awake. I see right there. See, I call her first. Y'all got to grab the microphone. I started this here, so start here. First of all, the responsibility of a board, because there's some folk who don't know what a board is supposed to do. So let's talk about that. How do y'all discuss it? Y'all pick the microphones up now. Oh, y'all got to talk. Yes. So let's talk about that, because in many ways, I've seen universities where boards do their job and the president runs the institution. Then I've seen other places where the board wants to run the institution. So how do y'all make it clear to everybody on the board what the role of the board is?
Well, one, we know that we don't run the institution. The president is the president.
Right.
And our job is to support the president and to ensure the best is done for the university. And so we have a very cooperative relationship with the president, and that makes a big difference. And he is very open and sharing information and providing information that we request. So we are supporters, we're fiduciaries of the university.
But also, as our wonderful Vice Chair, Jesse Rillier, said eloquently, that the only person that really works for the board is the president.
Right.
Everyone else is under his direction. Our institution is run by the president. The institution, in terms of fundraising and strategic plan, capital projects, becomes a matter for the board under the direction of the institution's president. And I think we have that clear. Many times people come to us with issues, with problems to a board member, as though we are the father of the president. And we're not. We can't entertain that sort of conversation. So we, as a board, understand our role as being administrative and not that board which runs the operation on a day-to-day basis.
Now, I want to speak a little different from
we got you.
What they said. Yes, the president is hired by the board, firstly, to run the university on a day-to-day basis. But there are specific things and value, what I call it, that a board member should bring to the board, to the institution. Number one, you should seek out persons who can bring value to the board, knowing what their job is. See, if you don't have the criteria within you to assist and help in the school, it's just like here. We have several committees. Committees actually make up and do the work as it relates to the board and then report back to the board at large. I serve on the Finance Committee. Brother Clarence Williams is chairman of the Finance Committee. It has a big job and responsibility, because without the resources here, you have the finest president in the world, but you can't get anything done. Our president in of himself does a good job in going out bringing financial wherewithal in. He has recruited some board members to bring value. See, to me, if you're a board member just because build up your resume, that doesn't amount to a hill of beans to me. But if you're going to come in and work, and first off, we recruit board members, you come in, there's much work to do here. This is an HBCU, this school here. And we're here today to talk about this school, I think, as well as other HBCUs. Did a little research. Yeah, hold on, Pam, I ain't finished. There's 107 HBCUs.
She's about to say, you almost finished. Go ahead.
This is my good buddy here, so she can't stop me.
She gonna cut you. All
She
right.
ain't gonna cut me. And you ain't gonna cut me. There's 107 HBUs in the continental United States. I think a lot of people don't even know that. So there's a different type of trustee, I think, that's needed. Because if you can't bring no financial or value or assistance through yourself or the ability to be able to go out and get resources to bring to the institution, then you're not helping the institution.
Right.
We have corporate governance committee. I'm on not corporate governance. We have the audit committee, which we had an excellent audit report from our auditors about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. And he said this institution right now, where we are operating, is far and above the majority of the ones out there. Corporations, private, public schools like this or what have you. So that's great. But we applaud the president for that because he's a day-to-day person, as already been stated. But to me, a board member has to bring value to the table.
See, the reason I asked that question, Pamela, because, again, this is the 60th HBCU I've been to. I've talked to numerous presidents and numerous board members and presidents who, matter of fact, it was one, I ain't got a problem saying it because I said it publicly, when Fisk got rid of Dr. Newkirk. I had posted a video, and then about 15 minutes later, they were hitting me up saying, hey, the board chair wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay, fine, you can talk to me. So he hit me up, and he said he's an alpha, and he's in the boule. And I was like, well, that don't matter. I said, if I think you screwing up, I'm going to call you out. And he said to me, he said, well, you know, the videos like you did, he said, could really hurt our institutions, you know, for a long time. I was like, no, having 6 presidents in 22 years can hurt your institution. I said, and I did. And I said, and one of those served 7 years. So really it was 5 and like 15. And I said, so obviously 2 things are happening here. Obviously, y'all are picking some horrible people, or your board ain't got a clue what the hell you doing. And he was like, we never had because he wanted to come on the show. Never came on the show. And I had to be that way because the problem is when you keep changing leadership and when you keep doing it, one, it sets the school back, you're paying out contracts, and a university is not able to grow. You show me an HBCU with stable presidential leadership, and I will show you an HBCU that has continuous growth.
I agree. And I think one of the things we've seen with President Faison is that we've had an excellent board who has selected a wonderful, super fantastic president who we want to keep, and we do not want to change the leadership because of all the wonderful things that are going on. However, when you talked about the board and the responsibility of the board, not only in just hiring the president, but also the responsibility to the students and the university. So that is financial, bringing resources there. You've got to have active board members who want to go out and look for finances. We can't just build a school, build a dormitory that costs $50 million. We've got to have board members who are willing to go out and try and assist the president in getting and obtaining those resources.
And also, so let me shorten that. Let me shorten that. Again, what you just said is you need board members who can also go bring in some money themselves.
Exactly.
Go raise some money.
Exactly.
Because it's a bunch of dead weight on a bunch of boards. Yeah. Like that was, I think it was Chicago Theological Seminary. They approached me about sitting on their board, and they were very upfront. I think it was $30,000. They were like, every board member got to bring in at least $30,000. And I was talking to the university president, board chair, literally 2 weeks ago, and she said, "Man, that's a good idea." She said, "Now if I hit them with 10," I said, "Don't go lower than 10." I said because you really have to force folk to understand what your role is. And it was because we had a really long conversation, and she was talking about, because she served on numerous corporate boards. And one of the things that she did, she assessed all the board members to know where had they served before. And her deal is, if this was the only time you ever sat in a position of power, she said, that's likely is going to be a problem. And that was, it was just a very interesting dialogue that we actually had. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is just piggyback on what Sister Price said. Length of tenure is very important in an HBCU. The ability and the opportunity to have continuity between the staff, for him to build his executive team, and for the school and for the students and all of the staff members to feel comfortable that they're not going to see a new boss every 18 months.
Right.
So it incumbents us as a board then to make sure we have in place a compensation package and a benefit package that illustrates our desire to have our president here and to compensate him in a way where when these vultures start flying around, he is well alive and not on a vine dying, ready to be gobbled up by someone who has the money to pay him.
But on the flip side is that, because I know one HBCU that actually fired the president because he was inside of his 90 days and they had not presented him whether they were going to do a new deal or not, and they got mad that he interviewed, and he was like, I have a family. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. And it was nonsensical, because here's how I see it. If I'm a HBCU board member, I would hope some other schools are trying to come after my president.
Right.
Now, if I got a president, ain't nobody trying to recruit, I'm scared as hell.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate. We have a president that we're proud of, and we're doing everything we can to keep him. And one of the things that the board has to do is to build friends, go out and find people who are willing to support the institution, and make ourselves available to go with him when he's pursuing some of these opportunities.
Do y'all believe there should be tenure of board members?
Tenure?
Yes. Of board members?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think that's the only way to bring in fresh blood, so to speak, right? So there's got to be some tenure that's associated with it.
It's a way to get rid of what you call dead weight. A lot of times the boards are made up of people who are well-intended, wonderful people, but to take a person who does not have the kind of skill sets by day and ask them to employ that by night is a difficult task.
See, I have a friend of mine gave me this here. So, you know, this was her very nice religious way of moving people on. She says, Lord, move them to their own divine good. Because it's not here.
It's not.
And so I love that, how she phrased that. I do want to ask y'all this here, because do you see this actually happening? Are there conferences or gatherings where board members actually meet to learn best practices? Because a lot of times what I keep hearing is that you might have presidents going to UNCF meetings, going to Thurgood Marshall Fund meetings, things along those lines, but very rarely are board members there. Is that happening where you have dialogue back and forth, where you're trading stuff and where they understanding, hey, how did you guys do this? How did you do that?
Well, we do have retreats, and we bring in experts there.
Right. No, I don't mean just you. But I mean externally in the HBCU community, where you're communicating and sharing with other board members so they can understand how you've been successful.
I think on a personal level that there are several board members who are members of organizations that, in fact, do that.
But nothing is institutionalized.
As a board, we don't do that.
No. As individuals,
we're not talking about what I do individually or what she do individually. We're talking about collectively as a board. We're not doing that.
I think I've had an opportunity to do it through my own devices. Traveling and knowing people that are on the other boards, and because of that environment, being in that situation, we can strike up dialogue after we find out what each other does. And I tell you, one of the things that I've been really pushing here, Roland, is board training. One of the issues with the board and some of the presidents and some of the institutions that we have, we're not properly trained.
Right.
We can't do better until we know better. And the only way we're going to know better is to learn.
I remember we were in a National Association of Black Journalists board meeting, and I've been on the board 3 different times. First as a national student representative, then later as secretary and vice president digital. And most of the time, they were having conversations. I mean, I wouldn't even listen to them because they were silly conversations. No, they really were. And so I remember one day we were sitting there, and the board members were going back and forth because they were complaining about a staffer who was we were based at the University of Maryland, our office, a staffer who our ED hired, lived in Atlanta, and he was paying her a certain number, and then she was virtual. And so they were all complaining, and our executive committee is the personnel committee. And I'm hearing this, and I said, hey, did we not approve a certain amount of money for the national office? They were like, yeah. I said, so why don't y'all shut the hell up? I said, the ED's job is to manage the office. I don't give a damn how much he pay her. I said, if he decided to pay her $500,000, I don't care. His job is to manage the budget. I said, now if he's not doing the job, then we got to deal with him. I said, so why are y'all sitting there having a conversation about a staffer's individual salary? Well, that ended that whole conversation. But because I was just, and I literally had to explain to them, that's not your job.
Right.
Your job is to hold the executive director accountable. It doesn't matter how he chooses to spend the money. If that becomes effective, great. Now, if there's a problem, then that's how we address it with him. So we discussed, well, how some people came to work. I said, man, I don't care when they show up.
No, that's not our responsibility.
It was the most ridiculous conversation. It was just crazy. But what happened was when I sat there, I looked at most of those folks. They had never served in a professional capacity where they had P&L responsibility.
Wow.
They had never been a boss. They had only been staffers.
Right.
And that's the thing for me. You have to have people who, frankly, have been bosses who understand how businesses run, because a university is a business.
Yeah. And I think added to that, you have to have people who are passionate and who want to be where they're at. They want to be in that position as a board member. So in having that passion, even though you may not go to a training, you take that extra interest to try and learn more about what that position is and what your roles and responsibilities are. I know personally we have not had any training as such with other boards as an EWU board, but there have been trainings on the website that the president has shared the link, and I personally have participated in. But again, I think people have to take that interest and put that upon themselves sometimes.
So when y'all see something crazy happen somewhere else, like somebody giving Florida A&M $230 million,
bad check.
No. What I'm saying is, but when y'all see those things happen, or y'all sitting there going, do y'all see what just happened? Because again, you learn from that. Because
I was talking to a board member of another HBCU, and we had the privilege of talking because this particular person was chair of finance, and I'm chair of finance here. And when I began to listen, I decided to stay quiet because I thought we were hurting until I heard some of the negative numbers and the difficulties that they have just generating payroll.
Yep.
I'm talking about basic requirements so that people can feed their families. When you have these sorts of strategic financial issues, Roland, how can they really grow and do ministry and educate the people that are in that institution that are relying on them, as these two young people were, to prepare them for the future? Just like a parent is cheating a child when that child is not prepared, nurtured, and educated by that parent for the world when that parent is gone. We are not doing our job if our students can't compete in a global market when they leave EWU.
Which is why I believe that when you talk about, y'all go ahead clap, which is why when we talk about what a responsibility of a board is, a well-functioning board also instills confidence in alumni to give. It instills confidence in parents that things are being taken care of, because what you have is you have an entire institution that is functioning properly. As opposed to dysfunction. I ran into the new board chair of the Texas Southern University when I was at Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. And it was interesting. It was a white guy. We met. He said, well, you know, I know you went to Jack Yates, was literally across the street. And I was like, oh, you the new chair? I said, well, I said, you got a hell of a job, because when I think back, when I worked at the Houston Defender in 1990, they had fired their president. And it had been constant drop going back to 1990. And I literally said to him, I said, and they ran off Austin Lane, and I literally said to him, I said, I really do hope you now have board members who know what the hell their job is. I said, because, again, it was starts and stops, and it was constant setbacks, and it creates problems. And then when that happens, then folk are unwilling to invest. Corporations are unwilling to create partnerships because you don't know, as you said earlier, how long it's going to last. Will this person be here 18 months? Yeah. Will they be here 3 years? Or will all that work we put together be out the window because you brought somebody new in?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we were
there you go.
One of the things we're very careful about in selecting a president is to look at the experience that that person has had and look at the objectives that we had and that were in common with his or hers, and be careful in the selection. And we were fortunate. And President Faison has done all of the things that we expected and more. And we are advocates for the university. And therefore, it is not just what we do at the meetings, but we go out and solicit support and funding from private industry or whatever else resources that we might find.
Last question for y'all. Are you also, in your own way, as you go out, looking at and identifying potential replacements for you, saying, hey, this is a person who could be a great board member one day?
I am.
Oh, I think so.
And I think I'm probably one of the youngest on the board in terms of tenure.
Okay.
Like that, in terms of tenure.
She was like, listen, I ain't got no gray hair on this panel. That's what she wanted to say. Go ahead.
No.
And I've got lots of it.
No. For the tenure on the board, and I have been thinking about and looking at others who I believe have the passion, have the desire, the willingness, and the resources to be a part of the board. So, yes, I am doing that.
Well, and I'm sure you may or may not know, the composition of the board in the African Methodist Episcopal Church is a little different process than conventional boards may follow.
First of all, how many board members y'all have?
That are 19, I want to think. 21, okay. So each conference in Florida, and Florida represented by 8 conferences, have the responsibility of providing so many board members for the institution. So to that degree, the seeking board members based on their abilities alone becomes kind of a non sequitur when you think about the process in which some of the board members are chosen. Now, we do have a number of at-large board members, board members that are from the community and other places. But so the makeup of the board does not, in some ways, gravitate toward that particular process.
Okay. All right, then. Well, look, I appreciate the conversation we had here. Continue success with what y'all are doing, and keep it up.
Thank you so much for coming to the first HBCU in the state of Florida. We're proud to have you.
We appreciate it. Folks, we're going to come back for our last panel discussion. And right now, Vice President Kamala Harris is speaking in Georgia. And so let's go to that quickly, and then we'll come right back here in a couple of minutes.
And all these years later, Barack Obama, I say to you, your friendship and your faith in me and in our campaign means the world. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. And we have some extraordinary leaders with us tonight, and I thank everybody who's here for taking time out of your busy lives to spend this evening together. I want to thank Georgia's congressional delegation, all the local and community leaders who are here with us. Let's please give it up for Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, Tyler Perry, and the great American poet Bruce Springsteen. So Atlanta, before I was Vice President of the United States, before I was a United States Senator, and before that, a 2-term Attorney General for the state of California. And before that, a district attorney and a courtroom prosecutor. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds: predators, fraudsters, and repeat offenders. I took them on, and I won. Well, Georgia, in 12 days, it's Donald Trump's turn. It's his turn. Just 12 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And I don't need to tell you, voting has already started. And everybody here knows it's going to be a tight race until the very end. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. We will win.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
All right, folks, welcome back to Edward Waters University here in Jacksonville, Florida. Vice President Kamala Harris speaking there in Atlanta. Again, if you want to see our full speech, go to our live stream that's happening on our YouTube channel, the Black Star Network app. And as I said, we'll be restreaming that later as well. Our final panel here, Reverend Dr. R.B. Holmes, who's also a Board of Trustees member here. We have Reverend Dr. Edward Wheeler, and then Reverend Mark Griffin, pastor of Wayman Temple. How we doing?
Doing fine.
All right, so I saw this video earlier this week, and I had to see this, and there's a reason I wanted a pastor's panel, because I don't know if y'all saw this video of this crazy, deranged fool who had the audacity to challenge the black church when it comes to this election. And so, the look on his face like, yeah, I saw that video. So y'all go ahead and roll Donnie Swaggart, who is the son of Jimmy. It's a whole lot I can say. Jimmy Swaggart, because we got to play this, and I got to get a comment. Go ahead, roll it.
I'm Devon Franklin.
Now, I'm fixing to make some people mad right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be, for the statement I'm about to make, I'm going to be called a racist. And I will be called every name under the sun. But somebody needs to stand up and speak to the black church. When the largest African-American Pentecostal denomination, when that leader stands up and said, I endorse that woman, he was saying, I endorse murder. I endorse homosexuality. I endorse lesbianism. I endorse transgenderism. I endorse every evil that hell could prosper or bring up to the right. That's wrong, folks. And the black church votes predominantly for the party that is anti-God. What's going on here? What's going on? See, my statement to them is this. We've had them call into the program. I don't like it when you talk about how. Well, no, the problem is they don't like it because we're stepping on their toes. Hello? But I guarantee you, if 1860 was today, they wouldn't say a word about preachers preaching against slavery. They would trumpet it, and they should. So then, why will not the African American church stand up for righteousness and stand up for the Word of God? Come on, church. Come on. You can call me a racist. You can call me every name under the sun, but I am right. I come against you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. You don't vote for somebody just because mama voted them or daddy voted for them, but you vote according to the Word of God. Come out from among them and be ye separate, says the Lord.
I'm enough of hearing him. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Fred, let me, I'm about to speak in tongues, so let me get what we're not going to have is white theology trying to articulate to a black church our morals, our culture, our history, and our faith. You are racist. It is about white nationalism. I'm a pastor, member of this board, on a newspaper, a radio station, and our black newspaper. Over 1,000 black pastors in the state of Florida have endorsed Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States of America. Now, to get thousands of black pastors to sign off, to say, I'm not afraid of Trumpism, I'm not afraid of what they may say about me. The black church was born in slavery. The black church understands the power of black theology and liberation theology, and he cannot lecture me. If you want to talk about demons and dragons, and what Trump represents is the Antichrist, and they're against everything that we stood for. When you try to tell us that Project 2025 is from the Lord, I'm telling you it's straight from hell. Because in the state of Florida, Project 2025 is being implemented right in this state. Anti-black, anti-books, anti-right, anti-Mickey Mouse. I didn't mean to do that, my friend. So let me just say this.
No, go right ahead. It's called Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The power of the black church. If we cannot rise in a time like this, we were never going to rise. This is a defining moment, not only for black folk, but for clear-thinking white people. This is our time. And I'm not going to be an Uncle Tom preacher who received my resource from black folk and scared to settle for black folk. The devil is a liar.
I salute my frat brother, and I greet my frat brother. I was trained as a church historian. I am revolted and disgusted by the son of a man who condemned other folk and then did the same thing himself. I will not be lectured by the great-great-grandsons of white preachers that told black folk slavery was ordained by God and you ought to be happy to be a slave. I will not be lectured and taunted and dismissed by white preachers who refuse to understand my dignity and my culture and only want to recognize me when I emulate them. The black church at its best has always been an institution for liberation of black folk and all folk. Our doors have always been open to anybody who wanted to come in. Our faith has always been about love, about loving folk enough to hold them accountable for their disrespect of God's creation of black folk. I serve a God who created me in God's own image and gave me the right to decide what I would do with my life. I'm grateful that I had a praying mama. I'm grateful I had a father who was light-skinned and decided he was going to continue to identify as a black man because his daddy was the only black person in the town he was raised up in upstate New York. I stand in a tradition of black folk who lifted black people up because they understood the God they served was concerned about who they were. I serve a nappy-headed, bronze-skinned Jesus.
We're here in North Africa.
Who died on a cross that I can have life more fully. And I will not allow somebody who denies the truth of the matter. He would rather have somebody with 34 felony convictions for an innumerable number of other court cases waiting on him, who has been sued over 4,000 times in his lifetime, who gets off a bus, talks about putting Tic Tacs in his mouth, and grabbing a woman in her private parts. That is what he wants as president? We may disagree about abortion. I've been in ministry for 63 years, Roland. I've never told anybody to have an abortion and never told anybody not to have one. I've explained to them the consequences of both and told them, you need to pray, go to your God, ask your God what you ought to do, because you're the one that's going to be accountable for whatever you do. And if your God says it's all right, then you do that. Because they don't even understand it in Orthodox Judaism. The child is not a child until they're born, until they are birthed. There are other traditions that honor life in different ways. And you, with your male self, want to dictate to a woman what she can do with her own body? That's the start of a deep and vicious slope that will dictate to all of us. I'm enough of a historian to know that Jews, that Hitler started out with Jews. He then started after folks who were handicapped. He then started out after folk that didn't agree with him. And he's waiting for black folks if he had ever gotten to where a large black population would be.
Well, in fact, what he did was he sent people to the United States to study Jim Crow, and they took Jim Crow practices back to Germany.
Back.
So America actually
taught him how to do that. The theologian Bonhoeffer.
Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who studied at Abyssinian Baptist Church.
Died because of Nazism, because he dared stand for the truth.
Who made a decision to participate in an effort to actually assassinate
Hitler. Yes.
So Dietrich Bonhoeffer made a decision to take his life for the purpose of the greater good.
Saving other lives. There was.
Oh, I know about Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
But then,
don't think, I'm bootleg. My wife ordained, but I'm bootleg.
When they came, we can have a council right now. I mean, there's enough of us here to have a council if you need it. But when they came, the story is when they came to the Jews, I didn't say anything. When they came for crippled folk, I didn't say anything. When they came for folks that were his enemies, I didn't say anything. And when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak. You start out talking about gays and lesbians. I don't understand, and there may be some folks that might get offended by this. I don't know why I'm heterosexual. I've always loved women. I don't know why. I don't know whether that's because my mother and father raised me or that was the community I lived in. But in black communities, folk, there's always been gays. There's always been other folk.
And in white communities too.
And there have been.
And in fact, there are gay folks who have served in Donald Trump's administration.
And some, as a preacher, sometimes I have to be careful about listening to folk, because sometimes the most vicious preaching is against something that they got inside of them, their own selves.
Doing it themselves.
They're doing it themselves. But the point I want to make is this. I don't understand why I'm how I am, so I certainly don't understand what somebody else does, but I will say this. There is one passage of scripture that I love. It's in John. And it says, you will know my disciples by their love. I'm going to love folk until I understand more about everything.
And I'll try to be a little briefer. But what's interesting to me is that he had that audacity.
Right.
To say that. And I think beyond the black clergy, the black community needs to really take note that there are people now who feel so emboldened.
Oh, yeah.
Until they feel like they can say absolutely anything. And I think we as black clergy, we deal with so many different things. Again, the issue of reproductive rights, and oftentimes we hear it being phrased in the terms of a woman having the right to do what she wants with her body. Well, as a pastor, I've sat not just with a woman, I've sat with a husband and wife. I've sat with a father and a daughter who've had to make very tough decisions.
Right.
And as we counsel them, as we share with them, as we pray with them, as pastors, as was already said, that ultimate decision is left with that family. So the issue is not necessarily how you feel about the issue. The issue is whether or not government has a right to tell a family what to do in that situation. If the church doesn't have that right, then why should the government? And so I think we really have to be careful that we don't miss the fact that in many cases the white evangelical church has become almost another political party.
Well, the reason why I wanted to play that, because first of all, if you want to show the sheer stupidity of Donnie Swaggart, when he says first the black church, coming out of his mouth, the reason there is a black church is because black people could not go to white churches. So he can't even understand the roots of Christianity in America by saying the reason there is a separate black church and white church is because of racism, is because of their views. The second thing is, it's interesting when I listened to him, and again, when I first heard it, the reason I had to laugh at the sheer stupidity, because he is condemning by saying, well, the black church is supporting death. In 60 years of the presidency, there have only been 3 federal executions in 60 years. There were none under Obama, Biden. Trump gets in. There were 13 federal executions in 6 months. So when I listen to conservative white evangelicals also talk about the Catholic Church is adamantly opposed to abortion. But the Catholic Church is also adamantly opposed to the death penalty. Now, you notice you never hear the Donnie Swaggarts of the world talk about the death penalty, which I'm like, because again, and then when they talk about being pro-life, that was a clip when I went off on a Republican last year that has probably gotten about 20, 30 million views when I had to explain to her the difference between anti-abortion and pro-life. So I would say to a Swaggart, I don't want to hear you calling the black church out about the issue of abortion when y'all oppose Medicaid expansion. When you oppose the Affordable Care Act, also called Obamacare. That's also life. You can't oppose Head Start. That's also life. I don't recall seeing Donnie Swaggart at any protest when an unarmed black man got shot by a cop. That's life. I literally don't recall them also fighting for the crisis in black maternal health in this country. And so when I listen to all of that nonsense, it's like you want us to buy into that, but the same individuals also are not speaking up for black institutions, because when you talk about who they first came for, these are the very same people who targeted affirmative action in colleges. They targeted the Fearless Fund in Atlanta. And yes, they also will be targeting HBCUs because they already are saying it, oh, we shouldn't have separate education, without even realizing that HBCUs were accepted, to your point about the black church, were accepting white folks when white institutions were not accepting black folks. And so Adonis swaggered, and then, but the greatest piece for me is you are trying to call the black church out when you are supporting somebody who cheated on his first wife for the second with the third, slept with a porn star, paid her off, got sued. Then you have been also found liable for sexual assault. You've defamed her. You got to keep paying it. And who told 30,000 lies when he was in the White House. 50 lies in the first debate with Biden, 30 lies in the next debate with Vice President Kamala Harris, a man who lies about lies. And so you literally have the most corrupt, evil, lying, narcissistic insurrectionist, and then you want to call out the black church?
And no one has checked him on any of that. No one has called Donald Trump
on that side.
Exactly.
Right, because they make excuses. Like, please, Donnie Swagger, show me that sermon where you held Trump to task and said, Trump, you should stop insulting black women the way you did. You should also make John Kelly, when he condemned Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, when in fact he lied on her from the White House podium when it came to FBI agents here. I mean, we can go on and on, but you don't see. And then of course, what's that fool? Because his dad was a preacher, but I don't even. What's that Graham boy? Franklin Graham, who questioned the Christianity of Obama. Yeah. But this fool can't even hold a Bible right. And then he said, let's pray for him.
No. And second, 2 Chronicles. 2 Corinthians.
Oh, I love the clip when he got asked about his favorite Bible verse. Oh, the Bible is just really personal to me. Yeah. And so then they said, well, first, Old Testament, New Testament, they're about the same. That boy, he don't even know what's first or second.
But the primary thing that's wrong with many of the white churches and white evangelical conservatives, they have never recognized that America's first sin is slavery. And they never have recognized or admitted that white supremacy has undergirded everything that has happened in this country since it was founded. And they don't even understand that when you make the flag superior to the cross, you've already stepped away from Christianity.
I also don't recall, Donnie Swagger, you hear Donnie Swagger calling out the folk who were carrying Confederate flags with Trump flags in the Capitol.
No. I think you got a guy who's running for president who get on the national platform and talk about honor Palmer private parts. And the so-called white church won't call them out.
Won't say a word.
Won't say a word. And you're going to call out the vice president and to say that she's incompetent. But I think it's on us. I think it's on black folk to wake up. I don't know where we get this Mark Robertson mentality in North Carolina, lieutenant governor, where Trump would say that he is, you going to insult my frat brother? He better than Martin Luther King Jr., Mark Robinson. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is not in the 1900s. This is the 21st century, where folk are saying to us what they think about us. And I'm glad that you are visiting HBCUs. You asked about presidents and board of trustees and why it's so important that board of trustees let the president lead and guide, and we set policies. And if you have a person like A. Zachary Faison, who is the brightest, greatest president on planet Earth in these times. Now, And I would challenge.
That's going to cost you come raise time.
I'm getting on right now. If we wanna keep these good presidents,
right,
you got to pay them. You know, don't tell me I congratulate you. Show me my compensation. Yeah. You know, and I just think that when I've had the honor of serving on there are only 4 HBCUs in the state of Florida. I had the honor of serving on 3 of them. And I understand when you lead in black universities, you literally developing pearls and the great minds on planet Earth. Right. We still need HBCUs. Yeah. And so, Dr. Faison, I'm glad Roland came here because I want to let the world know that we have one of the best presidents at Edward Waters University, and your trustees trust you and believe in you. And let me just say this about, I know I'm getting in trouble, about this governor. I know I'm getting in trouble, you know. And I told Ben Crump this, and he's a member of Bethel, where I pastor. When DeSantis said that black folk derive benefits from being in slavery, and he also said that our history lacks educational merit. Now, we could not just let them get by. So we said, as a black folk, let's do our own curriculum, teach our own history. We cannot expect them to teach our history, but doggone it, the black church and HBCUs ought to teach our history.
That's right.
Because forget what Trump may do, the bottom line, what we gonna do. Right. How do we preserve our institutions? How do we make sure that black colleges are growing, not just surviving, but thriving?
That's right.
That's on us, Roland.
That's right.
That's on us. That's on us. And my last point is, I'm getting in trouble. Black men. Obama tried to tell you. Magic Johnson tried to tell you. Now let this country preacher tell you. Have you lost your mind? How can somebody like Trump be your hero? Have you lost your mind? How can you feel that he is better than Kamala Harris? And if you sexist, just say it. Yeah. And if you have a problem voting for a qualified black woman, just say it. But don't hide behind Trump.
Yeah, one of the things that I
real quick before we close,
I want to say this. I was the president of a white institution for 15 years. I never stopped being black. I was judged by a different standard. And I stayed there longer than any other president. And when I walk out the door, I got an honorary degree. Thank you very much. What I'm saying about this president, this man has vision, he has energy, he has integrity, and he's operating in a way that I have compared him to Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays and his wife to Mrs. Mays, Mrs. Sadie Mays. I'm a Morehouse grad. And I don't compare anybody to Dr. Mays and Sadie Mays, but Zachary Faison and Tyson Faison, that's as close as I've ever seen. That is a model for everybody for leadership. And we better be real glad we've got him, and we better do everything we can to keep him, because everybody else wants the same thing.
Final comment.
Final comment, going back to that clip as it relates to the black church. I think it's interesting that he would even challenge the black church. It talks about the power that we have. If we had no power, he would not have addressed us. When it comes to COVID testing, when it came to all the issues that we have to deal with as a community, it always comes back to the black church. When it comes to employment, it comes back to the black church. And so I think our people have to understand that in times of crisis, it is the black church that people have always come to. And so we have to be careful that we don't let this soundbite, first of all, turn us off from voting. In my congregation, as a proud AME pastor, we've always had a third-party voter registration organization. So not only in our ministry, but when there are community events that are going on, we will take our organization, we will go out and make sure we're registering people to vote. And so I just want black people, particularly, to understand the importance of not allowing that type of clip to cause you to become so jaded about the process that you don't get out the vote. So maybe his goal was to get under our skins to the point over the next 12 days, perhaps, we won't vote. The last thing I'll say is this. As I was on my way to this room, I had the privilege of going right on campus at the Edward Waters University and voting.
All right.
And so all the other things that we do, they do matter. But what matters the most is that we go out and vote. And the choice is clear. He's talking about policies, but then you have a person that has violated perhaps every Christian principle known to man. And so if you are a Christian, there's only one way you can vote, and that's for the one who is
Kamala
a Christian.
Kamala
Well,
Harris.
look, I believe in also confronting folk. So I would love nothing better than to see, because he in Baton Rouge, I would love nothing better to see 50 to 100 pastors roll up in that church and sit on the front row and stare that fool down and then say, we gonna have a conversation when you done, since you got something to say. So since he want to call the black church, I said the black church need to go to him and say, oh, you had something to say? Well, we here. Let's go. And matter of fact, we ain't going to speak privately. I will be happy to live stream it. Now, make it public since you want to run your mouth publicly. That's just where I come from, but that's just me. I'm a little different than like that. So let me thank y'all for being here as well. I appreciate it. Let me thank everybody who's been on all of our panels. We've had a fantastic show here. Lots of great conversation from so many folks. Please, folks, understand, and we've done this all around the country. I mean, we've been to numerous campuses. We broadcast from University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. We've been at Texas Southern University. We've been at so many different places. And one of the reasons why I launched this show on this network, because this doesn't happen in terms of being able to tell our story in the way that we do. But the second thing that also has to happen is, and Pastor talked about it, we also have to understand why we must support black institutions. I have so many people who they talk about, man, well, we need this and we need that. I then follow up, well, then how are you supporting us in doing that? Just the other day when I was on the road, literally it was a couple of guys came up to me and handed me their contributions to our fan club because they said, hey, we support this show. And the reason that is so important is because if you look at what's happening out here, even when you look at the CNN debate the other night, when you look at these things that are happening, there are so many issues that are not being talked about. Now all these networks, left and right, are trying to talk to black men. And we've been having black men on this show since we launched 6 years ago. The issues with the Democratic Party and black men, I have been talking about since 2012. All the rest of these folk all of a sudden figured it out after Obama made his comments. And so what we have to understand is that our future literally is in peril when we don't support. Y'all heard me say this numerous times, that when you look at black-owned media, we do not have the same level of black-owned media today that we had 10, 20, 30 years ago. Ebony pretty much is not, they're still around, but it ain't even close to what it used to be. Jet's not there. Essence is not what it used to be. Black Enterprise is an event company. They barely really do cover business news. You look at the decrease in black radio. You look at BET, no longer black-owned, but they got a monthly magazine show, news show, not even daily or weekly. TV One has no news. We can go on and on and on. And so we've got to have places where we are centered. We're not part of the conversation. We are the conversation. So that's one of the reasons why we launched this show and this network, to be able to do this, because there's so many issues being talked about. And I can guarantee y'all, it's some HBCU board members out there who heard that previous conversation, and they know I was talking about them. And y'all know I ain't got a problem name-checking people who have issues, because their actions also hurting our institutions. And so we got to be able to have these honest conversations. And so we appreciate being here on the campus. I appreciate First Lady hooking up with the swag. She came back. She's like, all right, and y'all know it'd take a hell of a whole lot to get me in some purple. So thank goodness y'all colors are purple and orange. Because if y'all were purple and gold, ain't no way in hell I'd be wearing this. I'm just letting y'all know. But she did come out with a black and gold sweater. It was a little warm to wear that. But I saw that. I was like, so I wouldn't mind if y'all change y'all colors to black and gold. I'm just saying there'll be no objections from this part of the show. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate the conversation. Folks, don't forget, support. Even if you did not attend an HBCU, you can still support one, no matter where you are in your state, in your city. And so please do so. For the folks out there who are watching, be sure to hit the like button, folks. We should easily be crossing 1,000 likes. For the people who want to support our show, we got 12 days, and next week we're going to be in Milwaukee next week. First of all, we're going to be in Houston tomorrow. It's a massive rally tomorrow. The Vice President is holding in my hometown of Houston. Beyonce will be there, her mother Tina Knowles, and so many others. We're going to be broadcasting live from there. They still ain't even told us where in the heck this thing is. But my crew will be getting on the ground, driving there, and we'll be flying in there. So we broadcast tomorrow live from Houston. We'll be in Milwaukee next week. The Vice President is speaking from the Ellipsis on Tuesday. We'll be live from there on Tuesday. Milwaukee Thursday, Mobile, Alabama Friday. Then I'm going to be in Michigan next Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then, of course, we have our election night coverage in our studio. Pull the graphic up again. Former President Obama is going to be on our Win with Black Men call. We had 55,000 the day after Joe Biden dropped out. We want to exceed that with our call this Sunday. So, brothers, y'all sign up. There's a QR code. Go to winwithblackmen.org to be on that call. I'll be moderating that conversation. We have other speakers as well. We want to see y'all on there. Support our work. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide, including Barnes & Noble, Target, Indie Books. You can also get the audio version on Audible as well. And so, folks, that is it from us from Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida. Band, take us home. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?